Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen, cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading, from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman. And on today's episode, I have Jade Chang talking to me about her new book, What a Time to Be Alive. And Rose Dommu is my guest gay reader. She's talking to me about her book, Best Woman. Both books are out now, and both of their bios can be found in the show notes. As always, if you like what you're hearing, please share us with your friends, follow us on social media. It means so much when folks share episodes that they love or leave comments and all that. I can't tell you what a labor of love this little indie podcast is, and to see the great feedback that it gets over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify with comments and reviews and such means so much. So thank you all to those of you who have done so in support of the podcast. What else is there to share? There's still time to join the Gaze Reading Book Club through Allstora. You get your first book for just $1. The October book is Middle Spoon by Alejandro Varela, and it's so great. And then on October 15th is when I announce the November book. So the 15th of every month, the next book gets announced. And I was just in conversation with that author this morning, and I cannot wait for you to read that book and hear that conversation. The time is flying, y'all. I can't believe it. So there's just a lot to look forward to. So many great books coming out. And yeah, we are over on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at Gaze Reading if you are not already. There is a super exciting giveaway that's getting posted later this week that I cannot wait for. And I think that's all the housekeeping. I know a lot of people probably fast forward through listening to me meander anyway, but that's okay. The conversations are way better than me meandering. So speaking of, please enjoy my conversations with Jade Chang and Rose Dommu.
We went to the Purple Lounge. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
And we,
of course. Did you see Lucy Arnaz?
No, but we did. She's still alive.
Yeah, Lucy Arnaz is Lucille
their daughter?
Ball's daughter. And
I didn't know that. Okay,
yes,
okay.
Yes. And she often performs at the Purple Room, which is why I asked.
Oh, at first I thought you were calling Lucille Ball by her former married name, that she was somehow still alive. Okay. No, I didn't. But I did see is the woman who sang the theme song to the Nanny. Do you remember that song?
What?
Yeah.
Do I remember that song? My husband and I, during COVID, watched every episode for the first time.
Me too. Not every episode, but I watched a lot of it.
Oh, no, we watched beginning to end. I couldn't believe how funny it was. But we never, ever skipped the opening song.
Yeah. It's like the best theme song in existence, I think.
So, in fact... The Rosie O'Donnell show theme song is an homage to the Nanny theme song.
I think I know that one.
And the Gaze Reading theme song is an homage to the Rosie O'Donnell theme song.
What? I love that. That's amazing.
Yes. Anyway, all that to say, I'm a big fan of the Nanny's theme song. You didn't even realize the rabbit hole that we
but I love it. Wait, okay, I'm going to say this, and I feel like you'll be properly excited, which is, I cannot remember her name right now, so apologies for that, but the singer, she's just a consummate performer. She was truly amazing, and she does this kind of improv song, and she was asking people for names, situations, things like that. And we were there for a friend's birthday, but also one of the friends who was there was about to move to New York, and they asked for a phrase, and a friend of mine shouted out, "Don't move to New York." And then her entire song, that was the chorus of the song, was "Don't move to New York." And then we were like standing outside at the end waiting for our car, and just person after person came pouring out of the theater singing "Don't Move to New York." It was amazing.
I assume your friend did, in fact, move to New
Yeah,
York.
she did. She's there now.
Yeah,
It's very rude of her not to listen to this. But
the song did not work.
the song didn't work.
Okay.
Exactly.
Catchy, unsuccessful.
But useless.
Totally useless,
Yeah.
but catchy.
Yeah.
All you want in a song is for people to leave singing it.
It was so fun.
Now you'll listen to the Gaze Reading theme song, and you will fully understand.
Yeah.
I hope it gets stuck in your head too.
I'm gonna
Speaking of, Jade Chang, welcome to Gaze Reading.
Thank you.
I'm just holding up I'm holding up your book as though I said anything about it, but I didn't. Here to talk about your book, What a Time to Be Alive. So for the people, what is your elevator pitch for What a Time to Be Alive?
We're at a party and it's really loud and everyone's talking all around us and you just want to go get a drink. Pitch is just
what's your book about?
It's about a girl who accidentally becomes a self-help guru. And then it's a year in her life.
That is so beautifully succinct.
Thank you.
Yes. It's so funny that of all days, today's the day we're talking, because I've never even gone remotely viral, and I will not say that I've gone viral. However,
tell me more.
I had Jeff Hiller was on Gaze Reading, who just won the Emmy for Somebody Somewhere.
Oh.
And
yes, I saw a clip of him talking about it before. You know that clip that was like, "I'm never gonna win," and then he went, and then he won.
Yes, and then he won. Yes,
and I love that show.
So great. So happy for him. But he was on Gaze Reading and tells a very funny story about people not knowing his name, but recognizing his face. And I shared that clip on Instagram when he won. And it has blown up as far as I'm concerned. There's like lots of shares. I've gotten lots of followers from it. But it is not dissimilar from what happens to Lola in the book.
It's true. It is.
So there is a little art imitating life, or life imitating art in my morning today.
I love that. How are you going to capitalize on this and become a self-help guru in your own right now?
That's a great question. Not only do I don't necessarily want to become a self-help guru, but I've always wanted to become a matchmaker, which is not related at all. But I feel like there's a help part of it.
And looking at people deeply and knowing what they really want.
Yes. Jade, you see me.
True matchmaking of the soul. Yeah.
I feel so seen. Okay, yes, the book is about all of that, but it is also at a higher level a book about grief.
Yes, very much.
And how we all grieve differently and what we do with someone else's grief. Something that comes up in the book is how grief is maybe among the only unifying forces in the world. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it's interesting. I wrote that sentence and I don't think I realized that people would relate to it and hold on to it as much as they have. And it's going to be such a crass way to get into this answer, but
bing, bang, boom, let's do it.
Yeah. For any product, of course, you have like promo, etc. So for part of the promotion for this book, we made a little bit of merch, a very fun sock, and also a box. And on the outside of the box, there were some quotes from the book. And that is one of the quotes. And when the marketing person, Megan Deans, who was working on the box with, when she suggested that quote, I was surprised because I don't know. At first I was like, isn't it depressing? Like, is it? Because it's like how we want to send it out. But then everyone else also was like, no, we really feel both seen and affected by that quote. And I do. Yeah, and so I thought about it a lot more than I tend to think about a particular sentence that I've written. And
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you called it out too. But yes, I think I think that the only things that are really the biggest mystery in the world is that we all die and we don't know what happens after we die. And we are all living our lives in a march towards that final end, and we can do it together, but essentially we have to do it alone. And somehow all of that is what unites us as humans. It's what creates most of the fear that people have in the world comes from a fear of grief or a fear that was precipitated by grief. And so much of so much of the other things that we have are structures that we put up to deal with that fear, right? Religion, luxury products, all of those are different ways of cosseting ourselves and protecting ourselves. And yeah, so I think when I say grief is the only unifying force in the world, it refers to all of that. And then I think also it refers to the fact that when you are yourself in a period of grief, you do realize, oh, everyone has felt this way at some point, or they will. And we don't see it out in the world or sometimes even necessarily with our friends and family. And yet it's true. It's there. It's there. And just as much as, it doesn't mean I don't think that like joy or hope or any of that is also very much there. But yeah. Yeah.
How do you cope? Do you turn to religion or to fancy products or you rattled off a few things?
Yeah. Definitely neither of those things. I love fancy food, but the fancy products are not really one of my vices. I really do think that, I write about this a little bit in the book, but I really do think that like the eternity of the natural world is our truest place to cope with anything. Like knowing that there are trees and forest systems that are as old as they are, knowing that there are rocks that have been mountains and have tumbled in the ocean and reemerged. Like I feel like I really do find just a lot of true solace in knowing all those things.
It's interesting because you said that when the quote was put on the box, you hadn't necessarily, maybe you didn't say this, but when talking about the book, you didn't initially talk about the book as being about grief. And so that's super interesting to me as someone who read the book. And the question that I'm about to dive into, there is something so overwhelming about how fragile humans are. We're literally just these fragile creatures among the earth. Was that an overwhelming thing to be confronted with throughout the process of writing the book? But maybe it wasn't, because that's not even necessarily how you thought of the book. But
I love that question. You know, I mean, factually, yes, it is about grief, right? It opens with a funeral. Lola, who is the POV character, the whole book is in first person. It's a year in her life, and it is about how she becomes this accidental self-help guru in the face of her grief and trying to understand everything that's happened. But it's true that I would say grief wasn't like the driving force for me in writing the book. But I do think the fragility of humans, even though I don't think I like really put it in those terms in my mind, but that is something that I find so moving and so inspiring. And I think it's interesting to me because fiction is about human connection, right? Like we are mostly interested in these relationships, how they play out, how we understand them. And the reason that these relationships are so important and impactful is because we are such like vulnerable little creatures who need these relationships and who don't really know how to go about them and who spend our entire lives figuring out how to be people.
Did you grapple with that at all when you were writing, or is that something upon reflection? Sure, that's fair. And so it wasn't even like a conscious thing. It was just like part of the process because you're a person, you're a human. Yeah. Interesting. This episode comes out on, is your pub day the 30th? The episode comes out on pub day, and at the end of a month from now, the end of October, is my episode with Catherine Newman about her book Wreck, which is her follow-up to her book Sandwich. It is also a book very much about grief, and also about a young person dying, and also about suddenly being a young person, or a young person being immortal or immortalized as this one little thing. I also do a book club with Alstora, and my book of the month for October is Middle Spoon by Alejandro Varela. And it's a book about a breakup, but it really is a book about grief ultimately. And so it's very interesting that sort of grief is this big theme of the fall. And I almost feel like, knowing the timeline of book publishing, that we're coming out of this like grieving time, that people were so deeply rooted in that as a theme. Anyway, just something I've observed in the last couple of days. No, that's very true.
Books that are coming out now were probably mostly, if not conceived then, they were probably mostly written during the pandemic, or at least started during the pandemic.
End of it, or
yeah. And this like racial reckoning in America, this death of the institution, all of this. And it makes a lot of sense. And I think also there's this sort of, as an artist, there's this sort of, should I be trying to write like a sweeping historical epic of some sort? Do I want to take on every single big event that has happened in this period in my life? And I do love reading books like that often, but I think there is also this real desire to say, this is how it affects our specific personal lives. This is how the kind of sweep of events, this is how something like the pandemic breeds this kind of grief that people are thinking.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's interesting that you're talking about that as a creative person, and thinking about the sweep, as you will. The episode that will have just come out when this one is out is with Angela Flournoy, and who mentions that you both wrote these by side. And
today is her pub day.
Today is her pub day, the day of recording. It is indeed. There's something simple about the wilderness and the everydayness of the wilderness that makes it so impactful. And it was not just similar to me in reading this. It's like sweeping, but there is something everydayness, right? Just what happens if you go viral, and that's out of your control, and you just, the outside forces of the world. It's not really a question. It's more of an interesting observation of a thing that I feel like we're all sitting in right now.
I think also, and this is perhaps a little bit of a stretch, but I think we realize more and more kind of what kind of an impact these institutions that we've taken for granted as being things that are just all good, what kind of an impact they have on our like lived existence, and the small ways in like really taking care of our actual human relationships. For example, the small ways that we have to rebel against them and to be fully formed humans of our own, whose existence doesn't depend on the permissions of a system.
And related and unrelated, of course, is the going viral on social media, is the perception of who we are on social media. Do you think we're all just imposters?
Yeah. I mean, well, I think it really depends. I think it's
period
question. And I think it depends in part on what you think is an imposter and what you think is truth, right? I think that, do we all present with our most deeply felt, most authentic selves in every moment of every day? No and yes. Like, you're making decisions all the time about what you're putting on, what you're not putting on. your hair, your makeup, like,
Yeah.
everything. You could say that all of that is drag, right? All of that is an act, but
It's funny that you say that specifically because I immediately after I said imposter, I just wrote down, I was like, because I didn't like that choice of word. Actually, I think I might have pulled it from the book, if I'm being honest. But I think it's less about being an imposter and more about being a performer.
Yes. Also, this is interesting.
Right.
I think you probably didn't pull it from the book because I also don't like the word. And I actually, I mean, this is
listen. That is such a fair read. Oh my god.
This is a different discussion, but for example, I do find I understand the feeling behind imposter syndrome, but I actually do find sorry, I'm moving my camera around because I suddenly felt like such an empty chair, but I guess it's there already.
It's okay.
That's where my imposter self sits. Oh, no, actually, that's where my true self sits. That would be no.
Oh, if you're saving it for your true self.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
When she emerges, that's where she'll be.
Now I'm like, I'm sure I underlined it somewhere, and you're gonna get a DM from me later. And it's gonna be a screenshot of the page of the book.
I might have used the word, but
so funny. I'm only teasing.
It wasn't someone worrying about imposter syndrome. I can at least say that for sure.
Right. No, sure. It's so interesting because it made me think about this like weird family drama that had been going on where the Cliff Note version is I didn't go to my cousin's wedding and it was a huge drama and it boils down to the reason why I didn't go was for my mental health. And when I had this like very long conversation with my aunt about it, which shouldn't have mattered anyway, her response was, I don't know that I believe you because everything on social media shows otherwise.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so she's saying,
I was like,
on social media, you look great, you look happy, you're going to parties, whatever, you're posting pictures.
Right.
How could you have mental health struggles? Interesting.
Correct. To which I said, God bless my SSRIs.
Exactly.
But it is just so interesting because I don't even think I realized how I was being perceived, what my sort of performance of my own self really looked like. But of course, those are all very big themes throughout the book.
I think in a way there is no answer to it, right? Like, I think that I think we really like to scold ourselves a lot and scold the kind of era that, or the world that we've created, which is fair. It deserves a lot of criticism, and we like to say that we are uniquely performative, etc. in this period, but I just don't think that's true. I think that performance is part of humanity. I think even in a small village, there are norms that you're performing there. There are rituals that you're performing there. There is a self that you are outside and there's a self that you are inside. I think that is just a thing that we have always done. And I think if anything, people are more and more aware of how you can't take everything that is shown on social media as like the full truth of somebody's life. And
that's an interesting accidental segue into another big question that I have for you. I think so much of the book is also about being seen. What does that mean to you?
That's a great question. I think it's so deeply interesting to me, the concern with being seen, the fear of being seen, the things that we do to be seen. I think that, God, what does it mean to me? I don't know that I have a specific answer for that.
That's fair.
This is going to be a weird answer. I do feel a little bit like I think of myself as a bit of an observer in that project, mostly because I think I'm really lucky to have felt quite seen as a child. I think I don't remember a real sense of not having that. And this is like a reverse engineered realization, right? I don't remember a real sense of not having that. So seeing more and more people talk about wanting it made me think, what is it? Have I had it?
Any siblings?
I do have a younger sister, but she's 5 years younger. So I was an only child for 5 years. And I have very nice parents.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm the oldest of three, and my sister below me is just about 3 years younger. And then I have one who's 5 years younger. So there was that element of I was in an important position in my life where I wasn't seen, in quotation marks. So that might be where my little need comes from.
No, it's interesting. And I do think some of it is just inborn. I think we all need a certain degree of it. A long time ago, I worked at Goodreads and I interviewed John Green. And this was right after The Fault in Her Stars came out. And he was already quite popular as a YA author. And we were talking about this. We were talking about the need to be seen. And part of what I think this comes up in that book, one of the characters talks about the universe as a seeing universe and being seen by, and that the universe wishes to be seen, that all this beauty exists because it wishes to be perceived. And I remember asking him about it, and he was like, yeah, I used to really feel a need to be seen. And then he's like, but now I feel very sufficiently looked at, which,
yeah,
right? That is also interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely don't feel it from his terms, from that kind of a YA fandom is no joke at all.
Yeah, but it is interesting when you have aspirations and then it almost eclipses what you were going for. Then you're like, oh God, too much. Being seen too much.
Yeah. What makes you feel seen? Do you often feel unseen in relationships? Or I don't mean just sexual relationships, just like friendships or.
Yeah, I think we live in a world right now that things are real focused, REEL. So there's just an attention span that is short, I think, right now. And I think so few people have attention for each other. I don't think people have the attention span for each other.
Right.
And so it's give me the high level, what's happening in your life, tell me what's going on, and then we can move on or whatever it is. And so I think when you can spend time with a friend, with a loved one, with anyone or with a stranger who asks a meaningful question, who can take something you've said and say it back in a regurgitated way that acknowledges that you have been heard, been seen. I think it's that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it's that. I think it's also, honestly, as writers and people who get to be in the world of books, maybe I'm just biased, but I do think that I get to have like quite connected conversations pretty often, even when it's not about my book.
Interesting.
Even when it's about other things. Yeah.
But this is funny that you say this because my husband and I moved across the country, and among the more meaningful connections I've made have been through the podcast because I've had focused hour-long conversations that have, sure, maybe we're talking about your book, but we're also talking about just like life and themes in life and metaphors and whatever. And so we'll meet an author who I'm moderating their in-person event or whatever, and there is a deep connection there already because of a conversation like this.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah. And also, it's just such an excuse to be able to dive into something immediately, which is also
100%.
so fun. Yeah.
If you were to do a TED Talk, what would it be on?
It's a great quote. Wait, can I just say one more thing about being in
Of course. You could say 10 more things. Yes.
Okay.
I see you, Jade. I see you. You can say whatever you want.
But so I think that I think part of it is that like what you receive from the outside. Of course, the interplay is so entwined. But I do also think a large part of it is how much you do or don't feel like you have to adjust your own self to receive like a whatever is satisfactory to you, amount of interest and approval, etc. I think that, so I think with a lot of that kind of thing, I do think there's a degree of luck in it. Like, I feel quite lucky that I don't have to, I feel like I essentially want to wear the things that I wear, like want to look the way that I look, and want to talk about the things that I talk about. And none of that has changed very much since I was a child, honestly. And I've always been like quite satisfied with the response that I have received from those things. But that all of that is a fluke and is dependent on our current cultural norms and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
And it's funny because it makes me think about, of course, Audition by Katie Kitamura, and just the fact that I ended up using the word performance. Like, of course, that's literally what the book is about.
I haven't read that. I've read Intimacies and I loved it.
It's about everything we're talking about. So it's very interesting.
I should definitely read it.
Okay, what would your TED Talk be?
Oh, what would my TED Talk be?
Anything. It could be anything.
I honestly, now that this is going to sound so evil, but now that we're talking about this, I feel like I could give a TED Talk on how to make people feel seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. And how it's a superpower you could develop. And I think that part of that comes from having gone to TED a couple of times. And there's a chapter in the book where we go to TED and observing the real, just the way that the speakers, look, I have a lot of criticism of the event and a lot of appreciation for it. I definitely saw and heard and experienced some things that I loved. And then there was a lot that I felt quite cynical about as well. But I think the TED Talk itself is obviously engineered to give people a sort of aha moment. And I think that it operates on a really reliable set of rules. TED Talks themselves are definitely engineered for an aha moment. And I think that it would be quite possible to use a similar set of principles to engineer for a personal connection moment, essentially.
You just said you've been to a bunch of them. Do you remember any aha moments that you've had at a TED?
So my most significant moment for sure was, and this shows up in this book, but this actually wasn't one of the talks. They have this crazy thing outside of the main conference room. They have all these kind of experiences and just meditation pod after copper distillery of essential oils after it's fascinating. But there was this VR experience that was a little bit before, I would say, VR technology was completely commonplace to find in like a game at someone's house or whatever, and it was essentially the experience of being a tree. And you put on a headset and you stood on a little platform, a little dais, and you started out as a little seed in the ground. And you could see at your eye level ants walking by. And it wasn't 100% realistic, but it was pretty easy to suspend that disbelief. And then you grow gradually, and once you sprouted little like leaves and branches, you could operate them. And if there was like a squirrel on you, I think you could shake it a little bit, that kind of thing. And I found it to be so beautiful and so moving. And I think probably now, this was almost 8 years ago, I think, probably that now the technology would feel a little bit outdated. But at the time, it really felt, I have never thought about what it was to be a tree. And just...
Is there something more specific that was moving to you?
I don't know. I think just seeing the world from that perspective and seeing myself in connection to the rest of the forest, seeing the other trees that were growing with me, the taller ones, the shorter ones, the way that once you get up higher, you make way for each other a little bit so that everyone has a little bit of sun. I mean, Yeah, I really found it to be very beautiful, very moving.
Yeah.
It ends in a forest fire, which is horrifying. And I take issue with that creative choice. But yeah, the thing itself does show up in the book. But I would say that was the number one thing that had a huge impact on me. And the number two thing was realizing, oh, each of these speakers is doing a very reliable thing. Like, they're getting our sympathy, bringing us to a point, like showing us a thing that we didn't think we knew, but oh, hey, it's actually this. Realizing that there was that tactic, and then realizing that I also went to an Oprah Super Soul Sunday, in part as research for this book. And I realized that what those kind of spiritual leaders, quote unquote, were doing was exactly the same thing. And yeah, seeing belief as a methodology that can just be broken down, and then also going to one of the like mega churches in LA again as research, and realizing that when people are like called up to give testimony, they're again using like kind of the same exact series of, or like way of structuring a speech. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Like seeing all that definitely made me feel like, oh, I was already writing this book, but it definitely made me feel like, oh yes, like seeing the rise of a guru from the point of view of the guru herself there are good reasons to do that. There are good reasons to do that.
It's also interesting because it's almost like flour, water, salt gets you can make dough.
Yeah.
Right? If you use that to make dough for a pizza, if you use that to make dough for bread, if you use that to make dough for, it's at its core a version of the same thing, whether it's used for TED or it's used for church or it's used for a cult or it's used for something else.
Yes. And also like that dough can be a shroud, that dough can be a crown. Like it can literally, even in that, you know what I mean? Yeah.
If your cult had a brand, what would it be?
Oh man, I've been really trying hard to start a savory oatmeal cult, and I have very few. But if you'd like to join, I'm taking
egg, cheese, scallions, salt, pepper. Jade, I am here for this.
Amazing.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
What'd you think? Hi.
What are we calling it? What's the website address? I'm ready.
I'm trying to think of a name. Look, the bad version, I think, would be something like oat, but O-H-H-H-H-T.
Oh, okay. I just came up with something.
Okay.
Save oatmeal.
Beautiful.
So stupid.
Yeah.
It's a cult. It's a religion. We're going to be saved. I love savory oatmeal. So funny. There is a moment in the book where Lola is house sitting, something like that, and uses the people's car. And there is one CD in the car. What would your one CD be? If you could only have one CD in the car, what would it be?
Okay, so first of all, Lola is babysitting for a rabbit.
Oh yeah, sorry. I couldn't remember the exact detail.
That's okay. I just don't want to leave Aristotle the rabbit out of this too much.
I was just gonna say his name is Aristotle. How could I forget?
Yeah. When I was in like 6th grade or something, a friend made me a mixtape, and I guess it was a mixed CD. And I wasn't like that intense of a music listener before then. And shockingly, I cannot remember any of the songs on it, which seems like a lie, but I just can't remember them. But I remember getting it and being so pleased and listening to it over and over again and being like, oh, music is fun. Okay. I would listen to that.
If you can't remember exactly what it was, what was the like general genre? Was it rap? Was it 90s pop. Was it
So
R&B? I don't know. What was it?
There's a radio station in LA called K-Rock that was like they probably played a lot of REM and Depeche Mode and bands like that. But then they also like Sublime was on it, like bands like that, like a lot of like terrible Southern California. I grew up in LA. A lot of terrible Southern California music. I think I told my friend that I mostly listened to that radio station, and then they were like, no, you need to listen to more things. It was like stuff from the 70s. This was a very musically literate friend. This was like a whole different.
Okay, I love this.
There was a Nico and the Velvet Underground song on it, I remember.
Oh, how interesting.
Oh yeah, they were highbrow.
In our last few minutes together,
yes,
there is an uber big question that comes up in the book that I'm sort of curious to ask you about.
Okay.
This is completely out of context, but you'll understand where it's coming from.
Okay.
The question is, what did you want here on Earth?
Wow.
What do you think you would say to that?
That's a good question. What did I want here on Earth? That's a very moving question. You're going to make me cry. Man.
I saved it to the end for a reason, Jade.
I love it. No, thank you so much. I really love it. I think just all of this, I think, yeah, I think, well, one, I wonder if we can really know what we truly wanted, while we're still here. But also, yeah, I mean, I think, it's very really, but I am an easy crier, but that was a really that was a really great question. No, thank you. I love it. Thank you so much. But yeah, I think that definitely just getting to go through life with people I love, and a sort of degree of joy, a degree of chaos, a degree of surprise, a degree of wonder. Yeah, I think all of that. And then I think also there's, because the whole world is like irrevocably connected, I want that for everyone else too. And
it's a very beautiful thing to say.
Well, thanks. What do you want? Do you know?
It's a great question too.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that I've already had my conversation with Catherine Newman, even though it's bookending this month. Because similarly, there's a very big question that comes up in her book, and that is essentially, how do you want to spend your time? And I think it had me thinking so much about just being intentional, right? So what did I want to do here on Earth? I want to be intentional. I think if I had to boil it down to something, I want to be intentional with who I spend my time with and who gets my attention, who I see both literally and metaphorically. Yeah. That's a big question. That's what your book is doing. It's asking big questions.
It is. That is. What else are we doing besides asking big questions? Yes. But also, really, what a gift to be able to do things intentionally.
It's 100% a privilege. Absolutely. And just to be able to think about it, even being lazy with intention. I'm going to rest.
Yeah. Totally.
Or I'm going to scroll, whatever that means.
I do intentionally make that choice.
Right. Yeah.
Fairly often.
I know, for better, for worse. To all of that, I say, what a time to be alive. Which was not something I was not intending to say that. Here we are. Of course, everyone, go get your copy of What a Time to Be Alive by Jade Chang, out now wherever you get your books. Jade, thank you so much for being here on Gaze Reading today.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. It was so fun to talk to you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So fun to talk to you too.
Just Gaze Reading time.
Have the best worst thing in common.
Okay.
Can you guess what that is?
Is it that we're from Florida?
Yes.
Yes, I knew it. Where are you from, girl?
I can tell you this because you're from Boca. I'm from Cooper City.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I can't say that to most people because they don't know where that is.
They're like, most people when I say Boca Raton, they're like, what's that?
Right.
Or they're like, oh, is that where the old people are?
The old people
Yes.
run amok in South Florida.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I went to Cooper City High School. Where did you go to school?
I went to Dreyfus, the art school.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a theater person?
I was.
We'll get to all of that at another
Mhm.
time. But Rose Dommu, welcome to Gaze Reading.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my guest gay reader today. So let's just dive in. What are you reading?
So right now I'm reading The September House by Carissa Orlando, which is a horror novel. And I'm actually like, I'm gonna say I'm reading it on my Kindle, so I have 20% left. So I'm like really, it's like taking everything in me right now, not to just go finish it right now.
Good for you.
And it's a haunted house book, and it's about this older woman who lives in this haunted Victorian house with her husband, and he has disappeared, and their adult daughter is showing up to be like, what's going on? Where is dad? And as the novel goes on, you're seeing how this woman, the main character, has really inoculated herself against the horror of living in a haunted house. And you discover why, because of the things that have happened in her life, she's been able to do that. And it's just really funny and really sad and scary. And I'm totally obsessed with it.
Is that a genre that you typically are drawn to?
Yeah, I would say that this year I have been reading almost exclusively horror.
Because it's less scary than the real world?
No, literally, I only read horror novels and I only watch horror movies because they make me feel normal. Yeah, it's that bad. It's real dystopia hours outside.
Yeah.
And so reading about people getting murdered is such a nice break from all that.
That is sad. Are there other books in this space that you would recommend? I'm like not really a horror person, but what's like a good...
Yeah, this year, some things I've really loved are recently Gretchen Felker Martin's new novel, Black Flame. She wrote Manhunt and Cuckoo. Black Flame, it has the vibe of a 90s, like, erotic horror films, like Candyman vibes. It's about this archivist who is restoring a cursed film from World War II era Germany. Very sexy and gross and scary. I also really loved this novel, Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, which is like this epic saga set in post-Dirty War Argentina. That's all like cult horror. That was really incredible.
She has a new book of stories coming out.
Oh my God, I need to read that.
At the end of this month. What is it called? Somebody is Walking on Your Grave is what it's called.
She's such a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
I also loved The Unworthy by Agustina Bastarrica, who wrote Tenders the Flesh, which was like a really big book a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That's about this like sect of nuns living in a like cloistered in a monastery in a post-apocalyptic world who like do all this. Oh, yeah.
Anyone who's watching this on YouTube sees me disappear and then grab a copy of a book to present it. But I was like, oh, these are all on my radar. But I haven't read them yet. So this is
okay. Now you need.
Now
to
I need to read it. Okay, now it's off my bookshelf. So now it's oh my God, and it's short.
Yes, love a short novel.
Oh my God, it's 175 pages, and the font is big, and the space between the lines is pretty big.
Yeah,
this is
It's an epistolatory novel, which I don't usually fuck with, but it really worked for me.
Epistolatory novels are all the rage this year.
People just want to publish their journals.
Yes. Was there anything else that you are currently reading that you wanted to shout out?
Oh, yeah. I'm also working my way through Heron Walker's book of essays, Aggregated Discontent. Heron is going to be in conversation with me for my book launch at the Strand on September 23rd. And I've had her book since it came out earlier this year. I find reading nonfiction really hard, so I have to do it one essay at a time.
Yeah.
But it's actually been so enjoyable to stretch the process out because Heron is just so brilliant and so funny. So it's like a nice little treat every week or so. I'll let myself read a chapter.
No offense to Heron, but you saying her name, I can't help but imagine the character Karen Walker in disguise
from Will and Grace.
Uh-huh.
That's not the situation we're looking at here. I like how your brain works.
Like Karen Walker, I'm gonna put on a hat and call myself Heron, and everyone's gonna think I'm someone else.
It would be more like I'm gonna give myself bangs and move to Brooklyn and call myself Heron.
Yes, that is her Brooklyn persona. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like the alternate version of Anastasia Beaverhausen, right, which we all know is famously her alter ego.
Exactly. If the chapter of your life that you're in right now had a title, what would it be?
It's all happening? ?
Okay, why the question mark?
Just because it is all happening, but I'm very unsure of what it's all leading to, I guess. My debut novel's coming out, and it's been such a long run up to it. And now that it's finally here, I'm like, it's finally here? And how do things change once it's out and I'm not anticipating the release anymore? And what's going to happen? Are people going to like it? Are people going to hate it? Am I going to hate it? Yeah, it's a really big question mark that has been looming, and now the sentence is ending.
Interesting. Yeah, of course. Not even just the sentence, but the chapter, right? You're filling in the blanks, and then it will only start a new chapter where you answer the question.
And also, I think the question mark is partially because I have been disabused of the notion that chapter will end, because books are so different than I think a lot of other forms of media, where there's such a longer tail of their impact and influence and the kind of life they can live. So I don't know. Who knows how long I'll be talking about this damn book.
Maybe forever.
And that would be great, because I do love it and I think it's fabulous.
Every chapter title in your book will end in a question mark. How long will I be talking about this book? Question mark.
Yes. What am I going to do next? Question.
Oh God, that's a stressful one.
I already do know, and I've been working on my second novel since last summer, and I'm also working on a screenplay. So I do know what I'm doing next, but it's I've known for years now that this novel coming out was this thing that I was working towards, and now that anticipation is ending.
Yeah, it's you start school in kindergarten and you know that you'll get to graduation eventually, but that's so long from then, and then you finally get there, you're like, uh-oh. So talk to me about Best Woman. What is your elevator pitch for your debut novel?
So Best Woman is a send-up of classic 90s rom-coms, but through a contemporary queer lens. When I first started writing it, the Google Doc that it lived in was called My Best Trans Wedding. It's about Julia, who is a trans woman living in New York City, and she's going home to Boca Raton, Florida, to be the best woman in her brother's wedding. And a couple weeks before she's to go down there, she finds out that the maid of honor has been sacked, and the new maid of honor stepping in is her number one high school crush, who she has been obsessed with for the past 15 years. And in a bid to weasel her way into this girl's good graces, she tells a little white lie in the grand tradition of romantic comedies that very quickly spirals out of control. She goes home to Boca for the wedding, and you meet this whole wacky cast of characters from her family. And there's rom-com shenanigans, and things are discovered, and journeys are undertaken. It's funny. It's really introspective about identity and family and transness. And it very much is like a coming of age novel and a family story wrapped in the like sugary sweet icing of a romantic comedy set at a wedding.
Love. Rom-com shenanigans, I think, is going to be my drag name.
That's a good one. It would have to be like she Nanny.
Right. Nanny. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. DHE.
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite rom-com shenanigans? Or you could give specific examples like from movies that you love.
Yeah, I think a lie is lying about something that honestly is not that important, but feels really like world ending at the time. I just really like when characters in romantic comedies make really bad decisions. I like when characters in any kind of story make bad decisions. So yeah, that's the best because I personally want a protagonist who I want to grab and shake and be like, what's wrong with you?
And what's wrong with you? But then also watch them turn it around.
Or not.
And see how they make it work for them.
Yeah, or see how they have to own up to the consequences of their actions.
Yes. You saying that, and I don't know why, but hearing rom-com shenanigans, the very first thing that I think about is the scene in Father of the Bride where Steve Martin goes upstairs and looks at the bank book of the other parents, and it like flies out the window and into the pool, and
yeah,
he has to run away from the dogs. It is a whole thing, and it's like, how do you get out of that? Yeah, that's what I think of when I think of rom-com shenanigans.
Yeah, they're these like sort of operatic level dramas with like acts of almost godlike interference that happen that move the plot forward. But at the end, they're very human stories.
For sure. You, as we discovered, have a background in theater. You are now writing this, or you've written this novel. When did books become important to you?
The thing is, that's such a hard question to answer because I can't remember a time when books weren't important to me. I was a very precocious reader as a child. Like one of my formative book memories was like going to the library and seeing Carrie by Stephen King when I was like in 3rd or 4th grade and liking how the cover looked and just like plucking it off the shelf and deciding to read it. And like my parents never told me that what I could or couldn't read.
Yeah.
So I just started reading it and I was like, okay, I guess I read like adult novels now.
So that way, are there some formative books that come to mind?
Yeah. When I was 19, I read Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters, and that was really transformative because it was the first time I'd read like a properly queer novel, and particularly a queer historical novel where I realized, oh, this queer people have always existed and will always exist. And it's really interesting to read stories where queerness is crucial to the plot and to the character's journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk all the time about how among those for me was Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I'm a relatively late in life novel reader. So that was one of the first that I picked up and was like, oh, this is a quirky rom-com that is a little fan fiction-y, but I see myself in it.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's really, that experience was why I wanted to write Best Woman. We are so very much at the advent of, trans fiction as a genre. There are some amazing writers out there, and there is a legacy of trans fiction,
yeah,
but there's just not a lot of it. And I really wanted to see a romantic comedy with a trans protagonist. I wanted a trans person to have that experience of that escapist fantasy and to be able to see themselves reflected in it.
Wedding involved. So it's easy to make a parallel to my best friend's wedding, to my big fat Greek wedding, to Four Weddings and a Funeral, anything that has the word wedding in it. Father of the Bride, regardless of not thinking about comps for your book, but what are some rom-coms that you grew up loving?
So one that I kind of excavated recently from the depths of my memory was The Truth About Cats and Dogs with Uma Thurman and Janine Garofalo.
Yes.
Which I used to watch on like HBO or Cinemax all the time as a kid. And that's another romantic comedy where it's like this stupid lie is told because it's like a ripoff of Cyrano. And I just loved the idea of Uma Thurman pretending to have Janine Garofalo's voice. And there was like, and just these two very different women. There's something trans about it to me a little too. There's a scene where Uma Thurman has to like anally penetrate a turtle. It's just really weird and fabulous.
I saw it many moons ago. Remember none of what you just talked about.
It's worth revisiting.
Interesting. My deep cut is often Must Love Dogs.
Never seen.
Yeah, that's okay. I think it has like a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not it is not high art, but it just brings me joy. And Christopher Plummer is in it. And who doesn't love Christopher Plummer? We need rom-coms right now.
I know,
and
I think the state of the rom-com is pretty dire, both in terms of movies and books, because like romance as a category has become huge, but it's in this way where it's all centered around the love story only, and it's so smut forward, and that's great. I love smut. I grew up reading fan fiction.
Yeah.
Best Woman is more sexy than smutty, and I think like the great rom-coms of yore really always had a balance between the romance and whatever inner journey the protagonist was going on.
Yeah, inner journey, and also, not to circle it back to this, but shenanigans.
Shenanigans, right? Exactly.
A sort of classic contemporary romance novel doesn't always have the shenanigan aspect.
No.
We need that these
days. A lot
of
them take themselves really seriously, especially with the romantasy of it all. Yes. I just want to have... nobody wants to have fun anymore.
Nobody wants to have fun. Someone write a letter in someone else's voice, send an email, see or know someone, tell a lie, circle us back. That's fine.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying.
Here you are.
That's the agenda.
So everyone, go get your copy of Best Woman by Rose Dommu. It is out now wherever you get your books. I'm so excited for you and for all the people to check out your debut rom-com. And I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Rose. Everybody, have a wonderful rest of your day. As always, thank you for being here. And I will see you next week. Bye.